On this episode of Locked On Angels, the Angels have won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. They backed Kyle Hendricks last night with some much-needed offense, and they moved to 6-2 on this road trip. So what happened? We've got all the details, including what the middle of the lineup did that was really impressive. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for being here and making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube and leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by Monarch Money. You can take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Just use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB when you go to monarchmoney.com, and you're going to get 50% off your first year.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
We've been fans of this team for years. No matter what they say, we've been fans of this team for years. Our fourth season here as a host of Locked On Angels. We're here every weekday, 5 days a week, talking Angels baseball with you Monday through Friday. On today's show, we're going to talk about Logan OHoppe, his struggles on defense, and what he's doing to adjust to that and get himself better behind the dish. What is Ryan Zeferjahn learning as a high-leverage reliever for the Angels this year? But first, let's recap the Angels winning their fifth in a row with a final score of 7-5 over the A's. Michael?
Yeah, the A's got on the board first against Kyle Hendricks in the top of the second. They had 3 consecutive singles. They were all hit about 5 miles an hour because that's what Kyle Hendricks does, right? And they had one to right, they had one to left, they had one up the middle. That gave them a 1-run lead. But then the Angels came back in the top of the fourth. Logan OHoppe crushed a sweeper to left field for his 11th home run, and it tied the game. John, I was screaming at the TV. Maybe not screaming, but I'm looking at the TV and I'm going, guys, here's what's happening. The sweeper, every 2 of 3 sweepers are going out of the zone,
right,
down and away. Stop swinging at the sweeper. And then when it's in the zone, that's when you make contact. But these guys weren't listening to me until OHoppe hit his 11th home run.
Well, and Kyron Paris got the memo too. It had 2 walks, should have been 3 walks.
Yeah.
And hit that double as well. So good on him for laying off bad pitches. And, he's been struggling and scuffling and just being really aggressive up there. So he was very patient at the plate, did what he needed to do, Mike.
Yeah. Bottom 4, Kyle Hendricks gave the lead back. Shea Langoliers hits a home run, and then after a double by Andujar, on a ball, by the way, that should have been caught by Taylor Ward, he decided to look like a ballerina out there and just spun around and spun around and spun around. Doesn't help the narrative that he's not great out there. So Ward, you gotta pick it up. And then Nick Kurtz hit a 2-run home run and gave the A's a 3-run lead at that point.
Yeah, top of the 5th, Rengifo had a nice 12-pitch at bat, leads to a single. He hit a sweeper up.
Yep.
And in the zone, Mike.
Yep.
What do you know?
How about that?
Kyron Paris, again, followed with his second walk of the game, 4 consecutive balls off the plate. Neto swung at the first pitch. You made me laugh because you said you just watched Rengifo take a 12-pitch at bat, then walk the next guy, and Neto swung at the first pitch. And you're like, what are you doing up there? And for me, it was Neto trying to make up for the cookies that he missed down the middle in his previous at bat. So I'm pretty sure that's why Neto went hacking on that first pitch. Shawnuel grounded out to second, but it moved the runners over. Hey, productive out. Moncada, oh my gosh. After all the nonsense with the ump show behind the plate, what was the last name? Fletcher, behind the dish there. The first at bat that he had, Moncada wanted a timeout, didn't get it.
Yeah.
And it was should have been ball 4.
Right.
And it was strike 2. And it shouldn't have been strike 2.
Right.
Then he gets rung up because he's not in the batter's box on time. Total ump show.
Yep.
Fortunately, he didn't get thrown out because the next time he came up, he said, here's your ump show. He smashes a 3-run home run, 439 feet, 108.7 off the bat.
Jeez.
Fastball at the top of the zone. I feel like Mike might have gone further than that out of the stadium.
Yeah.
But this is what happens when you make a pitcher work.
Yep.
Rengifo, again, that 12th pitch at bat. Paris gets on base with the walk, and then Shonowell puts runners in scoring position. It puts pressure on the pitcher. That's exactly what happened here. Ward followed up with a double, his first of 2 in this game. O'Hoppe gets an RBI single, gives the Angels the lead right back. All of this done with 2 outs. A great response after Hendricks gave up 3 in the inning before.
Yeah, Hendricks comes out for the top of the 6th, John. He gives up a double, and then he gets the next 2 batters out. Now, Wash comes out. He brings in Detmers to face J.J. Bleday, got him to fly out to right field. But then Joe Adell decides to make a wonderful play out there and dive to make the catch. The reason why I'm really emphasizing that is because I'm going to be hard on him in just a moment.
Sure.
He makes a really face-first dive. Great play. Now, Hendricks goes 5 2/3, 9 hits, 4 runs, no walks, Hayes 90 pitches. I personally would love to have seen him go all 6 and get that final out. I get that they want a lefty with Bleday coming up, but it would have been nice to see that. However, I will give Wash credit because the thing that he has been doing lately, John, is he's been really pushing his pitchers to at least pitch into the 6th inning and maybe even get through the 6th inning. And when we had Locked On Every Day or Coach Cope on the show just last week, we talked about how he needs to, if he's going to not trust the bullpen and you can't really know who you can go to, he needs to push his starters just a little bit more.
Yeah.
And he's been doing that, John, in the Padres series. He's been doing that in the Dodgers series. And then he's done that in the A's series. And look at the results, John, 6-2 on this road trip. And these starters are looking excellent out there. Even last night, I wouldn't say that the start was excellent, but it was enough to keep you in the game. It was enough to get you a win. And that's what Kyle Hendricks does. And that's what you want from your 5th starter.
Yeah. A friend of ours said, can we stop treating Kyle Hendricks like he's Joe Blanton? Like, this is the least problematic pitcher in the world. Yeah. He gave up the home runs, but at the same time, I mentioned that, if Ward catches that ball, it's a 3-1 lead, not a 4-1 lead. So don't put all that on Hendricks, but Detmers gets bailed out a little bit by that slider he threw, and Joe Adell makes that great catch.
Yes.
But fortunately, Detmers was able to come back out for the bottom of the 7th, get the first 2 batters out. Soderstrom singled, but Adell boots it.
Yes.
And Soderstrom goes to second. So a good thing that he had that nice diving catch before he booted this one.
Yeah.
His 6th error of the season, Mike.
Yeah, I saw a great tweet. I think it might have been Swilly Sports that says, Adell giveth and Adell taketh away. And so that's what happened in that. And it seemed like he had minimum effort there, and it didn't seem like he was really hustling. And then when the ball kind of booted off, Paris went to chase it. And it doesn't help the narrative with Joe Adell right now, because if he does well, then he has something that he doesn't do well. And then if he doesn't do well, then he makes up for it. And sometimes he just kind of X's himself out, when in reality, he's talented enough to be a guy that can make a really big impact and not make mistakes like this.
That was a perfect prime example. If you've got a child in Little League, that was Joe Adell not looking the ball into the glove in that one. And that's exactly what happened.
Let me see the ball in the top of your cap. That's all. I remember all the coaches yelling at me when I was playing Little League. Like, I got to see the top of your cap. Let me see a little ball at the top of your cap. And that means that you are watching that go in. And so I was great on defense. I just couldn't hit the ball, but that's another podcast.
Mike, my favorite, Hunter Strickland.
How about
came
that?
in to get the final out of the 7th inning, throws 1 pitch, gets Rooker to fly out to Kyron Paris. Then Strickland comes back in and retires the first 2 A's in the bottom of the 8th. Then Brock Burke gets the last out there. So great to see Hunter Strickland back. I said online that on social media that, it's a bummer it took this long to get him back. Feels like somebody who could have been here from the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Just given how clutch he was. I know he had his issues here and there, but it was like your typical reliever bad outings. But for the most part, he was super reliable last year. And that's the thing that the Angels need in this bullpen is reliability.
I feel like Wash trusts him too, and he hasn't had somebody to really trust in the first, middle part of the season so far in those last few weeks. And so having him back in this bullpen, it's veteran, John, and something that the Angels want. They want veterans. That's why they got Hector Neris as well. They want veterans that know what to do in those situations, even if they're not top-notch, terrific veterans. They're guys that can come in and get outs and be successful. And you can just tell that he was stoked to be there. And I think it was Sam Blum or Jeff Fletcher that had tweeted that he was just in Sacramento playing in that stadium with AAA. And then he travels to go back there to be with a major league club, which which is pretty funny, John. So it's great to see him back on the team, and I think he's going to be somebody that helps to stretch this bullpen out a little bit, and then somebody that the Angels can rely upon.
The Angels got some insurance runs later on. Kyron Paris singled and stole second base, his second stolen base of the game. He got on base 3 times, should have been 4 times.
Yes,
in this one.
Johnny, this is why he's got to get on base, and it's why he's got to shorten up his swing, because if he gets on base, he just causes all sorts of havoc, and that's fantastic. That's what you want from him. The power is fine, but if you're going to just make simple contact, if you're going to drop down maybe a bunt, or if you're going to have a really good eye and not chase the sweeper off of the down and away off the zone, and he listened to me. I'm glad that he did. And if you're not going to chase that, you're going to draw walks, you're going to get on base, and then immediately his speed causes all sorts of chaos for the opposing team.
That's really what you need from him, and especially being a number 9 hitter.
Yeah,
get on base, steal some bags. There you go. He's got the speed for it. Neto follows up with a double, and that erased a 0-for-4 night for Zach Neto. He gets that double, scores Kyron Paris. An add-on run gave the Halos a 2-run lead. Moncada drops one into center field to load the bases. JJ Bleday just kind of ran to it and stopped and let it fall in.
Right.
And they suggested maybe he heard Lawrence Butler coming from right field and got a little nervous. But I'll take it. Ward bloops in another one that should have been caught. The A's throw out Moncada at second, but another run scored. So that made it a 3-run lead. The Angels 3, 4, and 5 hitters, Mike, listen to this. Each had 2 hits, 2 home runs, and then 6 RBIs total between them. Kenley Jansen comes in, gets the first 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th, gave up back-to-back singles. That scored a run, but you think, you know what? This is why you have an insurance of a 3-run lead. He strikes out Soderstrom to end the game. 5 straight wins, 10th save for Kenley Jansen on the season. Angels are 13-7 in games decided by 2 runs or less. Man, I just feel so comfortable with Kenley Jansen up there. Even if he does what he did in this game, it's like, well, that's what a 3-run cushion is for.
Well, and he wouldn't have given up, I don't think, that run, because they would have held Lawrence Butler on at first base. The reason why he scored was because of fielder indifference. He went to second, then he went to third, and then Sam Brown hit the single, and that scored the run. But it would have just been a single and then another single. So it would have been first and second for Soderstrom, and then Kenley Jansen probably would have dialed it in, and he struck him out at the end of the game. So it probably wouldn't have mattered, but they just kind of let that runner do whatever he wants, because Kenley was like, I don't care. Just let him do whatever he wants.
There were broken bat singles too because of the cutter. So that you kind of wonder, like, if they had made normal contact, you wonder if they would have been outs. But great stuff. 5 wins in a row, feeling pretty good right now for our Halos. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, O'Hoppe's defense hasn't been good. We know it. He knows it. So what's he doing about it? We're going to share what he's doing about it coming right up.
The Angels are playing really good on the field, and you can play really good when it comes to your resource, your money, your bank account, and that's something that you all need to do. That's something that I need to do. That's something we need to be aware of. Let's be wise with our money, and Monarch Money is going to help you with that. They're a personal CFO. They're going to give you full visibility and control over your finances. Not just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. With Monarch Money, you can track all of your accounts, your investments, and your spending all in one place. You can stop managing your money and start building your wealth. And those money conversations with your partner, man, they're smoother than ever, because then you can track shared accounts and personal accounts. You can set goals and stay on the same page without all of the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. And when you go to their website, monarchmoney.com, use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB. You're going to get 50% off your first year. Again, monarchmoney.com, use our promo code Locked On MLB. You're going to get half off your first year.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Mike, getting into a conversation about one of our favorite relievers. That's Ryan Zeferjahn. This last week was a growth week, so to speak. He's not getting taller, but it's growth in terms of being the Angels' 8th inning guy. He pitched 3 times this last week, facing the top of the Padres order once, top of the Dodgers order twice. We saw him against the A's on Monday night. He's faced 16 batters this week, and 11 of those were MVPs or multi-time all-stars of those 16 batters that he faced in those first 3 games across the Padres and Dodgers. Faced Jackson Merrill, who's one of the best young hitters in the game right now, and the results not so good, not too good. Zephr John allowed 5 hits and 5 walks to those hitters. It raised his ERA from 3.55 to 5.40. Prior to that, he struck out 22 and walked 3 in his first 12 and 2/3 innings.
Yeah, Wash on him facing those guys and going through all of those all-stars and great hitters. Wash said he's never done that before. There's going to be some growing pains, but he's got the stuff to work through it. And each time he goes out there, he's got to learn something and he has to apply it. So, Johnny, so far this season, it's kind of been a tale of two seasons. In March and April, Zephr John had 8 2/3 innings pitched, a 4.15 ERA, a 2.95 FIP, with a 1.14 expected FIP, and he's got a 50% strikeout rate, a 8.3 walk rate, and 29.2% of the time he was throwing his four-seam fastball. Now, I put this in here in the notes because you said something yesterday that I want you to address here. So far in May, 6 1/3 innings. Now, this doesn't count the game against the A's. 7.11 ERA, 5.61 FIP, a 4.48 expected FIP, 19.4% K rate, 16.1 walk rate. Now, it was 8.3 in March and April, 16 in May, and then 14% four-seam fastball usage, John. 29.2 March and April, 14 in May. You said on this show yesterday, I've noticed that he hasn't been using his four-seam fastball as much as he was in the first month and a half, and I wonder if that has something to do with the fact that he hasn't been as effective. John, here's the numbers.
Right.
And you were correct. So what do you think it is about him not using that fastball? What changed? What do you think the issue is here?
He's a strikeout guy, Mike, and he's been a strikeout guy. That's what made him successful last year. That's what made him successful across March and April. 50% K percentage. That's fantastic. I know it's a small sample size, but with a reliever, you're going to get smaller sample sizes. But the fact is, he really has dialed back his four-seam fastball, which touches 98, 99, 100. You got a guy, you just lost Ben Joyce, right? You just lost Ben Joyce, who is all about the velo and 105 miles an hour. Let's make him a bobblehead, all that stuff, which we celebrate. We're excited about that we have a flamethrower like Ben Joyce. Of course, he's hurt right now. So then you make your arguably third best, maybe even second best, because he was doing pretty good when Joyce was part of this team still. Yeah. You make him stop throwing the four-seam fastball.
Yeah.
Especially when he's touching 98, 99, 100. He's a strikeout guy. And so for him to lose 30% on his K rate and drop the usage of his four-seam fastball 15%, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing here? I don't understand.
Well, and I think it's a reason why his walk rate went up. I mentioned on the show yesterday as we talked about him, he said that he was trying to snap the ball a bit too aggressively when he was throwing his off-speed stuff, and that's why his walk rate for May is 16.1 compared to 8.3 in March and April. So I think the fastball usage, the four-seam fastball usage, actually benefits the strikeouts, but John, I think it actually benefits the fact that he's not going to walk some guys. He's going to be in the zone.
There's going to be some movement on a four-seam fastball, but Mike, for the most part, your four-seam fastball is going to go where you want it to. It's a straight line. I'm pointing at you every day, or if you're watching on the video side, it's a straight line. And now it's going to have some movement, and that's, a good fastball has deceptive movement and whatnot. But when you're throwing a cutter and you're a righty like Zephr John, it's going to move from right to left. It's going to move in on the hands of the lefty, away from the right-handed hitter. But it just goes to show that when you have that much movement on a pitch, it's going to end up outside the zone. And if you're not fooling anybody, then they're not going to go after it. Yeah. Mike, you throw that four-seam fastball at guys, and they're trying to play catch-up on, again, 98, 99, 100 miles an hour. So, like I said, you just lost Ben Joyce. You lost your flamethrower. Why are you making your second hardest thrower in your bullpen not use one of his better pitches? That's just something I don't quite understand.
And it seems like when he throws the four seam, it actually is a benefit to the cutter because the four seam is going to kind of go straight, right? Cutter's going to move. And when he's playing those off of each other, I think that actually really confuses the hitter. And he addresses that. He says, I've been tweaking a few things, including the cutter. He says that's his best pitch. He's just had an inability to locate it and get it in the zone, but he said he's continuing to learn how to use it, how to throw it. He said, when you get punched in the face, all that matters is how you're going to react to that punch. And so he wants to make sure that he's got control of it. But I'm going to go back. I think if he doesn't have complete control of it, if he's throwing that four seam in the zone by batters, then they'll probably chase the cutter that's moving across the zone, depending on what side they're hitting from.
Right, exactly. And the biggest thing, Mike, if I, I'm throwing right-handed here on the video side, if my release point is here for my fastball and my cut fastball, or I should say my four seam and my cutter, if you're tunneling that same pitch and releasing it at the same point, you're going to get a lot of deception out of that because the hitters aren't going to know what's coming. If the location and the trajectory of the ball follow the same path to the plate, and then they break at the last minute, if it's the cutter, then you're going to get a lot of swings and misses. So hopefully we see that four seam usage increase as this month continues. Again, I don't want them to move him away from what he's been doing well, because again, he's not he this is what got him to the show, right? Yeah. This is what brought him to the dance. This is why you traded for him. And the funny part is that if the Red Sox had just probably brought Ryan Zeferjahn up instead of trading for Luis Garcia, they probably would have had a lot of success. So again, like you said, if he's able to play the cutter off the four seam, he's going to have a lot of success. I just hope that he increases that four seam usage moving forward.
Let's talk about OHoppe. He's not really thrilled with his defense. He's excited about his offense. And John, this guy is just hitting homer after homer after homer. Just trails Cal Raleigh in the homers for catcher so far this season. But his defense has not been great. Now, entering last night, he has 4 errors and a -7 defensive run saved.
Woof.
Angels catchers, OHoppe and d'Arnaud, rank 29th in defense, and they rank 30th in defensive run saves at -8. So -1 to d'Arnaud and -7 to Logan OHoppe. And the main reason why there's been a struggle behind the plate is because OHoppe started recognizing something, a change that he did when he first got to the big league club that really wasn't good for him. And so he got fed up with it. That was his words. He said he was doing something uncomfortable, and he recognized that it wasn't working for him. And here's what it was. He always caught with 2 feet on the ground until he got to the major leagues. And then he was taught to catch with the 1 knee down style. The belief is that catching with 1 knee down, it allows the catcher to get lower, which helps him frame pitches better. And that came without any deterioration in blocking ability, and it gave the catcher fresher knees. Except OHoppe actually doesn't believe that was true for him, right?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, him and catching coach Jerry Narron got together and they decided to scrap it. And since April 29th in Seattle, he's caught in the old school way with both of his feet on the ground. OHoppe said, the numbers weren't as good on my receiving and blocking, and that pissed me off, his words, to be honest with you. Good on you for getting mad about it, OHoppe. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. What bothered me even more was that I didn't feel like myself behind the plate either. Now, that's a key factor. Jerry Narron said he felt like OHoppe was better when he began catching on 2 feet at certain times late last season, so he gave him the full send. He said, switch back to it full time. Narron said he's really, really athletic. Speaking of OHoppe, probably the most athletic catcher in baseball, and he moves well on his feet. And when he does that, it's a really good tool. So why hide it in the toolbox if he's not going to use it? Mike, that's one of the first things we noticed when he first got called up, even though he was doing the knee thing, was his lateral movement was really good. And you need that as a catcher. You got to be able to move side to side. Now, OHoppe's only caught 8 games on 2 feet so far, but the early numbers have been encouraging. He ranked 30th out of 32 qualified catchers in getting called strikes on pitches defined as borderline pitches. Since then, he's 16th out of 28. He said, I feel it's been a lot better. I've noticed a couple more calls, and I think that's all that really matters.
Yeah, for the season, OHoppe is in the 5th percentile in framing and 6th percentile in blocking. It makes him one of the worst at both of those rankings. And he said he's betting those numbers are going to improve as he goes back to what he's comfortable with. He said, getting back to my rawest form of catching, that's been way more comfortable. I feel more mobile, less taxed. I feel like I'm in a better position body-wise. I'm not moving around back there. He said, I'm physically not moving as much as I was in the past, and it's been a big change so far. So, Johnny, these changes are good, and we want to see O'Hoppe improve behind the plate. But let's just talk real for a moment. What would you rather have? Would you rather have the offensive juggernaut O'Hoppe? Maybe juggernaut's too big of a word, but the offensive O'Hoppe and in a neutral, not so great catcher, or would you rather have him better on defense and sacrifice some offense?
No, we need the offense from Logan O'Hoppe, especially the kind of offense that he can put up. But Mike, I don't think those two things have to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I think that if he continues to do what he's doing behind the dish, we could see progress in both regards. So far, he's hit, what was it on the broadcast, 3 opposite field home runs this season. And he had 3 all year last season. So he's making adjustments at the plate. And I don't think that him behind the dish, those things have to go hand in hand. I think that he can improve in both directions. Now, the bigger question, I think, is how long is he going to remain at catcher? Is he somebody that they move off the position? When does that happen? My first gut instinct says, well, when you're ready to call up one of the catchers that they have in the minor leagues that they're really excited about. I think Dario Laverde is one of the ones that comes to mind. I think there's another one down in the minors that they are excited about as well. But I think that he sticks at catcher at least until one or more of those guys is ready. But what do you think?
Yeah, I would. And I think that if O'Hoppe improves, I think he could have a bit of a trajectory career like Salvi Perez in Kansas City. He was a guy that they always talked about, like, hey, let's get him off his knees. Let's play him at first. Let's have him DH. I think you got to move him around a bit. But I don't know if O'Hoppe would want to relinquish being a catcher. I think he likes that position. I think he likes being the captain back there. I think he likes being involved in that. And John, I just noticed something last night when I was watching our best friend in the dugout, Logan O'Hoppe. When he hit the home run, he walked in and there was just an aura about him, right? Like there was just something about him. The team was kind of hyped around him, and you could just see, like, in that moment, I was like, that dude's really matured. He's really grown up. And I know that there was a situation where he made a mistake a couple of games ago, and he had the infield instructor come up and speak to him and just kind of put his arms around him. And he's like, dude, you're going to win this game for us. Get your head back into the game, right? And O'Hoppe was like, I needed that because I was so mad at myself, and I needed that. And I think that what we're seeing in front of our eyes is this guy blossoming not just into a really good all-star caliber major league catcher, but a really great leader. And I think that's why he is going to fight tooth and nail to not leave that catcher position, because I think he feels like a leader on the field. However, I do think that they need to get him off of his knees more regularly. So I loved that they DH'd him last night. But if he's not in there and it's not a regular day off, he needs to be the DH, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you 100%. The fact that he was DHing and Darno was behind the dish, anytime you need Darno to catch somebody like Hendricks, or I know that he's paired up with a lot of these guys a lot, you need O'Hoppe as the DH. I understand you brought in Soler to be your DH, but Soler can play right field, and he's about as productive as Joe Adell's been lately. So there you go. Yeah. And so you're not really losing anything if you put his bat in there over like Joe Adell or even Kyron Paris, right? But still, the fact is, I think that you need O'Hoppe in this lineup one way or another, unless it's a regular day off, like you said. But having him as the DH when he's not catching, I think is huge. Mike, I still think that he can be Buster Posey-esque, where he's going to be a great catcher behind the plate, still young, still growing, still learning, and a willingness to grow. I think that's what this article really shows, and this interview with O'Hoppe really shows, is that he has a willingness to figure things out. He's not going to get stuck in his ways. He's going to ask his coaches. He's going to ask Jerry Narron, what am I doing? I got to fix this. Yeah. And so having the willingness to grow and be better, I mean, it's like Zach Neto with the leg kick, right? Like, you don't see that anymore. And he had the willingness to ditch it, get rid of it, now he's hitting the ball harder than he ever has
Right.
in his career. And it's awesome to see. So as long as those two are showing a willingness to grow, but also recognizing that like they're the guys in charge of this team, I think they have a really long way to go. I think Logan OHoppe, again, can be Buster Posey-esque in the sense that when you think about all-time great catchers for your team in the way that Posey was for the Giants, I think that could be Logan OHoppe for the Angels.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. You're going to watch every game, every night, all season long, get local analysis on a national scale, and you can find it on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, be sure you give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show on YouTube. Get in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. We always do our best to get back to each and every one of you. Mike, what do we have on deck for Thursday's show?
You know what's wild is Nick Kurtz was drafted last year, and now he's playing for the A's at first base, and nothing was said, right? But the Angels bring up all sorts of young guys, and then everybody's like, what are they doing? And that happened yesterday. That happened yesterday because Christian Moore went to AAA, and everybody was like, I don't understand this team and what this team is. So let's talk about that tomorrow, John, because I think that there's some clarity that needs to be had there, and I think it's a good move. We'll discuss that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
It's not the majors. What are we mad about? I don't understand. All right, friends. We hope you'll come back and join us for that conversation. Of course, we'll be talking about tonight's game against the A's. Hopefully, they make it 6 in a row. Let's go for it. All right. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody. And we'll see you back here on Thursday.
I like Christian Moore. I think he
See Mo.
I think he needs this challenge. So we'll talk about that tomorrow.
I want to see Mo of see Mo.